Hello. Anybody here? No. Oh. Okay. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Bo. In the last podcast, we mentioned the following. It says in the beginning of the Parsha, Vayam Hashem Moshe, Hashem said to Moshe, Bo el Parai. Ki ani echbadeti es liboy. Oh yes, before we begin, the topic of our class, this is an auspicious day. And it's January 20th, 2021. And it's Parshas Bo, and we're going to the topic of our class is what is the role of the president? What defines his job? What is he supposed to do? So we're going to Mitzvah Hashem describe the Torah's perspective on what a leader is supposed to be like. What does it mean to be leader? What does it mean to have leadership? To be the president, to be the prime minister, to be the king. And we mentioned in the last podcast on this Parsha, a few days ago, it says in the Parsha, Vayam Hashem of Moshe, Bo el Pari, go to Pari, Kanich Bari, Yisli, boy, have heart in his heart. V'yasleiv avodav, Laman Chisi Oisai, Sayel Bikir, boy, in order that I should make these plagues, these signs, V'lamat Tisaper, in order that you should be able to tell, Ba'ozni binchu, uben binchu, you should be able to tell in the ears of your sons and your daughters, that which I have, Rashi says, sichakti, I have made fun of the in Egypt. We explained that the Rabbanu Shalom actually dismantled with scoffing and jokingly dismantled Paro's stature, dismantled the Egyptian, made them look like fools. This was what Paro did. That's what the Rabbanu Shalom did to Paro. He destroyed his kingdom by Latzonis, by scoffing and making fun, and joking, make him look like a fool with the frogs and all the different plagues and all the ramifications and all the midrashim that we have. However, that's the Rabbanu Shalom. However, Moshe Rabbeinu is a different. Treated Paro in a different manner. As it says in Pasuk Vav, that Moshe is standing together with Aaron with in Paro's court, and he's describing to him the next Makkah. He's describing to him the next plague, and that's going to be Arba. It's going to be the locusts. And it says, it's going to go into your houses and the houses of all your servants. It's going to go into the houses of all the Egyptians. That your fathers didn't see and your grandfather didn't see. From the time that they were here until today. That's the way it's going to be, he says. And then it says like this. This is what we want. Vayithen. And he turned, and he left Paro's house. He left Paro's court. He turned and he left Paro's court. And what does this mean? Here the Ibn Ezra says, Vayifen Am Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says, Ki Vayifen Ushav el Moshe. Vayifen, he turned, means Moshe. It's not that Paro got up from his throne. It's not that Paro got up from his throne and walked away. That's not what happened. Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who walked away. But what does it mean, Vayifen? So the usual translation would be, Vayifen means that he turned around and walked out the room, because that's what you do usually. You walk out the room, you turn around, you walk out of the room. So he says that no, Vayifen means Shayachola Kavod L'Malchus. He was honoring the monarchy of Paro. He was honoring Paro as the king. In other words, he was honoring the office of the king of Paro. Shepona el Melech. He didn't turn away from the king, but instead what he did was he turned to the king. But say so as he exited. He went backwards. He went backwards, facing Paro, to give him a kavod, to give him honor, to honor his monarchy. That's what happened. Now, because the Ibn Ezra says the word Vayifin also comes from the word Panim. The word Vayifin means face. It means face. So it means he faced Paro as he walked out. This is an honorable way to walk out from the king, to give him kavod. The Pardes Yosef also quotes in this week's parsha. The Pardes Yosef quotes the Yashich in Yirmiyah 32:33, quotes a Medrash. He quotes the Ibn Ezra, who says the same thing. And he says also, and that's the explanation of the pasuk, for example, in Parshas Vayakhel, in Perek Lameh, chapter 35, verse number 20. Vayotzu kol adas Yisrael, and all of the congregation of Israel, Yotzu milifnei Moshe, they went from milifnei Moshe, the same word, from in front of Moshe. She also covered Yotzu Achronis, they also, when they left backwards. The same thing as we have Kohen Gadol, B'Yom HaKippurim, Kohen Gadol also on Yom Kippur, Kishiyotza Mikodesh HaKadoshim, when the Kohen Gadol left the Holy of Holies, he also left backwards during the Avodah on Yom Kippur, when he did the service on Yom Kippur. Va'anun also us, he says, Achar Shmona Esrei, after Shmona Esrei, after we finish davening the silent prayer, the Gemara says in Yuma on page 53a that we take 3 steps backwards. We also leave, so to speak, we leave the Rabbanu Shalom. We leave the master of the universe. We leave when we daven, what we're doing is that we are in his audience. And as we take 3 steps back, it's as if we're leaving his court. And as we're leaving his court, we also, in order to honor Hashem, we leave backwards with our face facing him, not to turn around to show our back to him. And that's Parshat Kisisa, also the same thing. Parshat Kisisa says, Perek Lamed Beis, Tes Vav, in 15, Vayifen Vayered Moshe Minahar. And Moshe Vayifen, he faced, when he left the mountain, he left the mountain backwards, also the same thing, facing the mountain, not turning around from the mountain, but facing the mountain. This is what the Pardes Yosef says that supports the Ibn Ezra. So you see that the way that one should treat a king is with honor. Even a Melech Paro, even the Russia, the evil person Paro, there is an Indian. There is the way that one is supposed to treat the king, and that is the one is supposed to. There's many ways, but one of the things is that when they walk out when they leave the audience, they should leave backwards. That's what they should do. Alrighty, so this is what we have. So what we're saying is at the beginning of the parsha, Hashem says that he made fun of Paro, as we explained in the previous podcast. That he made fun of Paro, he dismantled his whole persona. He dismantled his entire being, his monarchy, his people, with scoffing and making fun of him. However, Moshe Rabbeinu the opposite. Moshe Rabbeinu did not do that. Moshe Rabbeinu only followed the instructions of Hashem to bring the makos, to bring the warnings. And when he was in Paro's audience, he did not demean him. He did not make fun of him. The opposite. He honored him. And the reason why he honored him is because of the stature of the office, because of the office of the king, the office of the president, the office of the prime minister, whoever it may be. So the question we have for this evening, and that we want to address, is that why is it that the king deserves such an honor, and why does a leader of a nation, for example, deserve such an honor? Why does the Ribono Shel Olam deserve such an honor? Aside from the fact that Hashem is the all-powerful, the master of the universe, the creator of the universe, and we have gratitude to him, the fact that we exist, etc. Aside from all of that, the fact that why is it that the king requires, the office of the king requires that there should be an honor like this? Why Hashem had to dismantle Paro? That's a separate thing. We discussed that in the previous podcast. The reason why he had to dismantle him is because Paro had to face the truth. Paro had to face the emes at some point. He couldn't carry on the charade. But as far as the etiquette is concerned, the way that one is supposed to act, so Moshe gave him the honor the same way that Hashem gives the same way that the Jewish people gave Moshe the honor, the same way that the Kohen Gadol gave Hashem the honor, the same way that Moshe Rabbeinu gave HaKadosh Baruch Hu the same honor that we give Hashem ourselves. Every time we finish Shemona Esrei, every time we finish davening the silent prayer, we take 3 steps backwards, first facing the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is the question that we have. So to answer this question, again, I'd like to read from the Alter of Kelm. And the Alter of Kelm is in the Chachma Musar, volume 1, Maimer number 2, and he discusses the point that we want to make. And again, our question is that why does the king deserve so much honor? Why is it the etiquette that one should bestow covered to the king? And in order for us to understand that, is we need to understand what is the role of the king, what is the role of the president. The role of the president in the United States. We live in the United States in January 20th, 2021. What is the role of the president? What is his job? What is he supposed to do? Why is he there? Okay, as the leader of the nation, and as by extension, since the United States, at least at the moment, is the most powerful country in the entire world, then the president of the United States is also the most powerful man in the entire world, and therefore he leads by default not only his country, but he also leads the world. What is his job? What is he supposed to do? What is the main thing of his job? So the Alter of Kelm here, in Maimer number 2, he discusses interesting what he says here. He says, "V'amanu al pizeh hu she'aviv shomer sadavar." We know that after Yosef, at the beginning of Parshas Vayeshev, Yosef tells the brothers that the dreams that he had, the dreams with the sun and the constellations, and the dreams that he had with the sheaves, everything. And the brothers thought that this was a false dream. But the pasuk says by Yaakov, that after he heard the dreams, it says Aviv Shomar Asadava. His father waited to see what would happen with these dreams. And says the Alter, Hainu Yoda es Yosef Shehu Mitsuyim Bimida Hazois. Yaakov knew that Yosef excelled in a particular trait, in a particular character trait. What was that trait that Yosef excelled in? He excelled in the trait of Noisa Ba'olam Chaveroi. He excelled in the trait of empathy, of carrying the yoke literally with one's friend. He excelled in this trait of caring for other people, in being able to empathize with their problems and helping them out. He excelled in this. Was Yosef's talent. This is something that Yaakov perceived that Yosef was able to do it and excelled in. And this explains, as the Alter, why did Yosef say Lashon Hara to the brothers? He says the reason why is the reason why is because he had this character trait that he joined in the yoke, in the suffering of his friend. He was worried about them. The reason why he said Lashon Hara is because if he was saying something negative, which he was, is he wanted to fix it. He was so worried about his brothers, about whatever it is that was the problem with them. And he was so worried that he wanted to fix it that he went to his father to tell him what was going on. Ubifrat, and specifically, Shehim Shiftei Hashem, Shiftei Ka, Klal Yisrael, these were the 12 tribes, the Jewish people. K'mo. Okay, so that's what he says. This was Yosef's trait. That's why he said Lashon Hara. And not only was Yosef, Yaakov understood that not only was Yosef, should we say, excelling in this, but he was bursting beyond the level of it's supposed to go. He was not only doing it according to the letter of the law, how much a person, or according to just logic, a system of how much a person should care for another person, but he went beyond, extra in this character trait. And therefore, when he heard these dreams, he thought that they might come true. And why did he think that they would come true? Says the Alter, why? Because this character trait, what?
Jacob thought they might come true.
He thought that these dreams would come true. Why? He said, because this is the character that's required for a king. This is the midah, the character that a person has to have in order to be a king. That he has to be thinking about other people. He has to be thinking about what's going on with someone else. And what was the dreams that Yosef was saying? The dreams that Yosef was saying was a description, basically, of him being a ruler, of him being a king, a president. That what? That they would all go down and they would bow down to him. What does that mean? That they would be his servants and that he would be their master. That's kingdom. Yosef's dreams were predicting his future. They were predicting him being a king.
Rabbi, you gotta pause 1 second. Sorry.
I'm just going to continue because we're on the video.
Is it just funny? Okay, so make sure you're okay. Okay, love you.
So this is what it says. V'hikir aviv mimenu shu doeg l'tova zulosoi b'hafroza. And he understood. Think about the connection. Think about the connection. Is that Yosef came to say Lashon Hara. Why did he say it? Not because he had malicious intent, not because he was a malevolent person, but because Yaakov understood that what was driving him was his anoisa ba'olam chaveru, that he was worried about his brothers. He was empathizing with their issues. And Yaakov said to himself, "Oh, you know what? A person like that should be a king. That's the character. That's the main character trait for a king." So therefore, then Yosef comes and Yosef goes and says his dreams. And what do the dreams say? That he's going to be a king. So Yaakov said, "That's no coincidence." The brothers thought he was crazy because he was saying Lashon Hara about them. Now he had delusions of grandeur. But to Yaakov, there was a connection between his behavior and what the dreams were saying he should be. And therefore, Shomer Asadavar. Therefore, he waited to see if it would come true. Kinyan Sherana bit Tosefta. We see in a Tosefta in Sanhedrin, chapter 4, number 5. It says like this, quote, Uma melech sha'osech kol yamav, a king all of his days is involved with tzorchei tzibor, unquote. He's involved with the necessities of the congregation. What is the job of a king? What is the job of the president? The job is to be involved in the needs of his constituencies. That's the job. But not just in such a way where it's black and white. Throw money over here, cut taxes over there, do this over there. Not just policies, but he has to imagine in his mind that the people in Alabama need this, and the people in Kentucky need that. And how do I know that? Because I went there and I saw what they need. I spoke to them. And I imagine how they would feel if they would have this and if they would have that. One county or one state might not be the same as another county or another state. This is the job of the king. This is the job of the president. It has to be a noise bolam chaver. What are the literal words? The Alter says in a different place. To carry the yoke together with his friend. Imagine that a person, you see a person walking. You see a person walking and they're carrying a heavy thing. So you say, oh man, that must be very difficult for you carrying very heavy. I can just imagine how difficult may be. So says the Alter, no, you can't imagine. You have to go and go carry it together with him. Then you can imagine what it feels like to carry it. Until you carry it yourself. You have to go there. You have to see what the problem is, and you have to imagine in your mind what it feels like to be like that. And then you can give a person what they need. A king's job is very difficult because he has to identify what they need. He has to first have compassion. Second, he has to have a mind that understands. He has to picture in his mind what would it be like if they had this or they had that. This is the job. Says the Alter, therefore, whoever involves themselves even more in helping out people in such a fashion, they are then more apt to be a king or a leader. And now we understand, says the Alter, why is it that we have to honor the king? You see in this week's parsha that Moshe Rabbeinu honored, like we mentioned, Paro. Why do you have to honor the king? For what reason? Because a king has this attribute that other people don't have. One of the biggest, one of the foundational attributes of a human, and that is that he is experienced and apt of being an oiseh ba'olam chaveroi, of being a person who carries the yoke, the burden of others, to help them, to empathize with them. And now we can understand another halacha, because what's another halacha is? Another halacha is v'lechein tavinu moira b'malchus chayav misa. Somebody who rebels against the king is obligated in the death penalty. A moira b'malchus, a rebel against the king, is obligated in the death penalty. Why is that? This is the reason why. Is because when if you could just imagine, if you could just picture in your head a king, a kingdom, what's the foundational stone? You know, you have a house, and the house stands. What does it stand on? It stands on a foundation. You don't have a foundation, the house falls. If you could just imagine that a kingdom is like a house, what does it stand on? What's its foundational stone? Its foundational stone is noise bolam chaveroi. It is with, in an amazing way, an involvement with everybody's business to help them out. Why? Because the king is watching over everybody to save those that are being afflicted. As it says, Melech b'mishpat yamid aretz. In Mishlei 29:4, it says that the king with law will make the land endure, will make the land stand. And there is no greater manifestation of this character trait than the king himself, the president himself. This is the job. And that's why somebody who rebels against that is obligated to the death penalty, because they are fraying, they are destroying the foundation of that which is the source of justice and help and the provider of need for others. That's what the Alter Kelm says. This is the job description. The job description is not that I'm going to stand there and I'm going to be important. The job description is not that everybody is going to give me honor, make me parades, right? Stand up when I walk into the room. That's not the job. The job is that I help them. And says the Alter, we find that David wanted to be a king, and that Moshe Rabbeinu also wanted to be a king. I didn't understand. What Moshe Rabbeinu needed covered. David HaMelech needed covered. It's interesting that he says the Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be a king when it's clear from Parsha Shemos that he didn't really want to. He refused. But that's a separate thing for us to discuss. But what is it they need covered? That's why David HaMelech became a king when he was anointed. You'll understand because he says, listen, when a person is a king, where is the place? If a person truly cares about other people, if a person is constantly involved in helping other people, where is the optimal, the greatest place that they can stand where they have the capacity to be able to excel in this character trait? Where? On the greatest and most impactful way. That is the kingdom. It's not, he's saying, David HaMelech didn't want to be a king so that he should get honor as a king. He wanted to be a king because that is where you could be the most impactful to the people in terms of being an Oiseh Ba'olim Chaver, in terms of carrying the yoke together with one's friend. This is what the president, that's why a person should want a president. Is he wanted to be a president because he'd be the most, the executive branch, at least in where we live in the United States, is the most impactful office of where a person can make the biggest strides in Noiseh Ba'olam Chaveroi, in helping others, is in that office. That's what it should be about. I'm not saying that it is, but whatever. We're not here to talk politics. We're here to talk Torah. But that's what it should be about. And by extension, since the United States is the most powerful, therefore the whole world, the office is the most impactful, not because it dictates to the world what they should do. It projects power and fear. That's not the reason why it's the most impactful. The reason why it's most impactful is because it has a unique position of where it could be the most impactful to help people in need. That's why King David wanted to be a king. Because then he would accustom himself to be able to exact the law properly according to in the entire land. And he would be able to then extend wisdom and to make wisdom great by creating schools that teach Torah. And then he would be able to do everything of Tikkun Olam, to fix the world. Hakol biyad melucha. Everything can be done through the kingdom. Zeo karbanos hatosefta, and that's what the tosefta means. Uma melech shoisef b'tzorchei tzibur, just like a king that is involved in the needs of the congregation, in the needs of the populace. Hainu kinal b'chol tikkun ha'olam. That means everything that needs to be fixed, the roads, the infrastructure, peace, jobs, helping people in need. Everything. There's no more greater person who cares for others than this position. And that is, it includes all, it is one of the greatest attributes. Therefore, That's why David and Shlomo, his son, oh, you mean Shlomo Melech, not Moshe Rabbeinu. Sorry, I made a mistake. He's saying Shlomo Melech. Moshe Rabbeinu did not want to be a king. He's saying Shlomo Melech wanted to be a king, right? Shlomo Melech, Shlomo the king. Because they wanted to carry the yoke of the entire world. And this is the main that you walk in the ways of Hashem. The situation of the world in its place. That's why somebody who sits in judgment, because what do they do? What does a judge do? The judge brings about justice between two people, which is in the same vein. And that type of person, the Gemara tells us in Shabbos, page 10a, is Nasa Shutiv Ma'aser Bereishis. He becomes a partner in the creation of the universe. This is the definition of what a king is about. How do we do this? And this is what the Gemara. Okay, I'm just going to leave it. The Gemara says in Brachos. The Gemara. Now we come to the point. This is the definition of the king, but it's more than that. A king is how should we say it? Is a microcosm, a representative sample of the Rabbanu Shalom, of Hashem himself. The Gemara tells us in Tractate Brachos on page 58a. The Gemara says that Rav Sheshes was blind. And he was going together with everybody to go see the king that was passing by. So a Sadducee, a Sadducee came over to Rav Sheshes and he said to him, "What are you going to see for? You're blind. You're not going to be able to see him anyway." So Rav Sheshes said to him, "Listen, I'm going to know when the king comes better than you. Watch, let's go, we'll see." So they go over there where the king is making a parade, where he's coming through. And comes the first group of people with a lot of noise and pomp. And the Tzadduki, the Sadducee says the king must be there. So Rav Sheshes says, "No, that's not where the king is." So comes the second group, same thing, there's more noise, more celebratory sounds, music. So the Sadducee says it must be over there. It must be the king is over there. So Rav Sheshes says, "No, he's not over there either." Comes the third group, the same thing happens. I forget, it was the third group, then comes the next group. There's no noise at all whatsoever. So he says, Rav Sheshes, another group came by. He says, "There was the king was there, you missed him." So the Sadducee says to him, he says, "How did you know that was the king? You couldn't even see him." He says, "I know, because it says in the pasuk in Malachi, in Malachim, it says that Eliyahu Hanavi was told that the king does not come with huge gargantuan tempests and winds. Like the Rabbanu Shalom does not, the Hashem does not come with. The Rabbanu Shalom does not come with noise and lightning and nothing. But Hashem comes with, if I remember this correctly, I don't have the Gemara in front of me on the pasuk in front of me. Called Mama Daka, he comes with a small voice. Said Rav Sheshes to the Sadducee, Malchusa the Ariki, Malchusa the Rakia. The kingdom in this world behaves the same way as the kingdom in the world above. Monarchies are the same, they act the same as the Rabbanu Shalom does. And the same way that Hashem does not come with this whole rush, with all this noise and winds and strong things, he comes with a soft voice. So too does a regular king too. So this is what what we want to take from this Gemara is the Gemara is saying that Hashem behaves towards us the same way that a regular king would behave towards us, or the opposite. A regular king behaves towards us the same way that Hashem would act towards us. And according to the Alter is saying is that what is the definition? What is the aside of the king? What is his purpose? His purpose is to be noiseh ba'olam chaveru. It's to give everybody what they need. It's to be able to empathize with their pain, to be able to see what their needs are through compassion and creating pictures, imagination in his mind about what everybody needs. That's what the president's supposed to be about. And Hashem is about that. That is what Hashem is about. Hashem is about that we say every single morning in the bracha, we say, Sha'asa lo karataki. Hashem has done everything for me that I need. Right? This is what Hashem is about. So therefore, a king who acts properly and is faithful to his definition, he's faithful to his job description, to his mission, will also emulate Hashem. How do you emulate Hashem? To provide everything for everybody that they need. That's what a king is about. Says the Alter further. We have a few more minutes. Says the Alter further. How do you learn such a thing? How do you learn such a thing? What's a good way to learn such a thing? So he says the Alter V'zeu tam masha. Perhaps maybe we already heard this before. But V'zeu tam masha osku avosenu b'mikneh liroy soyin ki Yaakov Avinu olav Shalom v'David. This is the reason why our forefathers got themselves involved in shepherding. This is the job that everybody craved, the job that nobody wants, to be a shepherd. Yaakov, Avraham, David, Gam Moshe Rabbeinu Hayaroya. Moshe Rabbeinu was also a shepherd. Why is that? Because they wanted to accustom themselves l'seis ba'ol, to carry the yoke. Afilu im balei chayim, with animals. Certainly with people. Says the author, the Medrash tells us in Shmos Rabbah, base. Says in the Medrash, Moshe Hayaroya. Moshe was a shepherd, right? So this is what the Medrash says: Hashem tzadik yivchon. Hashem judges. Hashem tests the righteous. Bodak lo David bitzon. He tested David with sheep. Umotze roy yafi. He found him to be a good shepherd. What would David do? David would take the small sheep to graze in order that they should be able to see the soft grass. And then he would take out the older sheep in order that they should graze in his middle grass. And then afterwards, he would take out the younger but not the smaller sheep, that they should be able to eat the most difficult grass because they're the strongest. So he made sure that everybody would be able to have food to eat because some sheep were not able to consume certain foods. Hashem said, somebody who knows how to shepherd sheep, every single sheep according to his way, he's going to be my leader. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen to be the leader. Because Hashem first looked how he did. What was Moshe Rabbeinu's resume? How did he try out for the job? He was a shepherd. He took care of each one of the sheep. He thought in his mind, I can't let the younger ones go first because they're going to eat up the grass that the older ones can't eat, and the younger ones can eat other grass, so they don't need this grass. So let the older ones, let the babies come, then the older ones. Then I'll let the younger ones go. This is the way. So he said, if he can think about animals like this, he can think about my people like this too. Moshe Rabbi, that was who was that? That was David. It says Moshe also Hashem tested him with sheep. Our rabbis say Moshe Rabbeinu when Moshe Rabbeinu would do the sheep, Shel Yisro Baruch Mimenu Gudi. There was one goat that ran away. He ran after it. Until they reached a pool of water. And the Gedi, the goat stopped to drink. When Moshe reached him, Omar, he said, I didn't know that you were running away because you were thirsty. He had no idea. He thought that the goat was running away, stop. But when he saw that the goat was drinking and not running away from him, he knew that the reason why the goat ran away is because he was thirsty, and he didn't realize that the goat was thirsty. And why are you thirsty? Because either you're dehydrated or you're tired, he said. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, what did he do? Moshe Rabbeinu picked up the goat and carried it on his back. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, you have such mercy to be shepherd the sheep like this. You will be the leader of the Jewish people. And Moshe was a shepherd. That's why the Torah is telling us that Moshe Rabbeinu was a shepherd, because he tried out for the job first. Right? So this is what we have. We have an election. That's what we have in order to some people are tyrants. They go in and take power for themselves by force. Right? But really what they should do is, if a person wants to have a job to be the president of the United States, is that they should make him into a shepherd. You should go and let him have his sheep for a month, see how he treats the sheep. You should put a camera over there, give a grazing field, and we give him all kinds of different sheep, and let him graze the sheep. Let's see how he does. Or give him a smaller job. Let him go work in the YMCA. Let him go see how he deals with people, whether he's kind to other people, he thinks about them and what each one of them need, what each one of them should have. And then the one that does the best of that is the one that should be the president, not the one who gets the most votes. That's the way it should be like that. This is why this is what the author, one of the messages of the author about. That's what he says is the defining feature of a king. This is his job. This is his mission. This is what he's supposed to do. And that's why we are supposed to treat the king with honor and respect, because he stands at the higher echelon of society, not by virtue of the fact that he has royal blood, or that he got elected, or that he sits in the most important chair, but by the virtue of the fact that he's engaged in an activity that is the most honorable, that is the most commendable, that is one of the stands at the most the highest priorities of what this world is about, in emulating the creator of the universe. Okay, anyway, this is what I wanted to share with everybody. Shkoyach, have a good Shabbos.
Bye, Connie. Is she still there? Did she stay on?
She's still here. Chani, you still here?
Yeah. Thank you, Rabbi. Good Shabbos, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Good Shabbos. Bye.